What's good, everyone? Christopher Lee Johnson here. The following is an elaboration to the interview related to the WWE 2K23's roster being included in time for the game to be shipped. Andrew Hawkinson, Lionel Jenks, and Brian Williams, the directors of WWE 2K23, were asked by many of others by the source of Sportskeeda and Fightful magazine and these other publications as to how they were able to ship WWE 2K23. And it starts from the internal base roster itself. What they have detailed is that they recognize what happened in WWE prior to the time of SummerSlam 2022 coming to an end. They paid attention up from September all the way through December as to who got back in WWE. They chose who they want to select to be put in the game in time, just for the shipment for their submission dates for the Sony and Microsoft companies. Now, they said the glaring omissions people was going to notice anyhow. And that was only because when they had developed the title, they already had put in way more than they were supposed to put in the game anyhow. Yes, the internal base roster already has 231 characters on the physical disc alone, and 246 in total, with the DLC coming much later in the year of 2023. And there was no way that they was going to be able to fit anyone else on the base roster in time, because they were not trying to go ahead of WWE, because they know that WrestleMania season is around, and they're not quite sure that the roster cuts from the main company itself can affect the current game, because eventually they will have to start yanking people out. So sometimes when you do see superstars who were scheduled to be in the video game and they get yanked out due to what happened in WWE upon certain circumstances, this is why you see these glaring omissions happen, even after the launch of the base game itself. At the same time, Visual Concepts were asked what made the difference between 22 and 23 in terms of roster inclusions. 22 had more than 2.5 years of work done to it, and it had to cover the 2019 and 20's dev cycles, so they were paying attention to that. And they said by the time that the title of 22 was even launched, they already took notice that 80% of the roster was gone. They owned up to that. Yes, the heat was taken. They didn't care of what needed to happen because they already were in motion to 2K23 at the time. Yes, they are constantly working. And 2K23 itself outdid 2K22 in terms of its roster inclusion to make this roster larger than any wrestling game ever attempted. And they also made mention that those ones who were not allowed to be in the game, they are coming next year, and they're going to have room for them. But they had to work what they could work with at the time, and that's how the interview mostly ended. This is the take on the elaboration on the roster inclusion situation for WWE 2K23 1.